A stunning surprise in Gambia's elections as President Yahya Jammeh loses to former Argos security guard Adama Barrow. In Somalia, as presidential elections are postponed yet again, some experts are asking, what now? And a roundup of Africa's top music videos. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Esther Githu. This is Africa 54. We begin with breaking news out of Gambia. The Electoral Commission there has confirmed that opposition candidate Adama Barrow has won the presidential election, effectively bringing an end to current President Yahya Jammeh's 22-year rule. Jammeh has said he will concede, a move that has been hailed as a turning point in the West African nation's history. Barrow, a property developer and former security guard, had the backing of 8 opposition parties. He says he is expecting a phone call from the president within the coming hours. Gambians will now prepare for a new president after more than 2 decades of what many say was a brutal dictatorship under Jammeh. Barrow campaigned as a reformer who said he would reverse Gambia's decision to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. To East Africa now, where 2 Iranians and their Kenyan driver are facing terrorism charges for allegedly filming the Israeli embassy in Nairobi. Kenya has reportedly charged the 3 men with collecting information for a terrorist act. They were in a car belonging to the Iranian embassy in Nairobi when they were arrested. Meanwhile, Iran has called on Kenya to release the 2 Iranians, saying they are official lawyers of Iran's Justice Ministry who traveled to Nairobi on behalf of families of 2 Iranian prisoners in Kenya. The United Nations Commission for Human Rights says ethnic cleansing is taking place in parts of South Sudan and that the international community has an obligation to stop it. The UN says the stage is set for a repeat of Rwanda's 1994 genocide. In a statement, the world body says certain South Sudanese are being targeted with starvation, gang rape, and displacement based on their ethnicity. South Sudan's President Salva Kiir has strongly denied the UN's allegations. More than 1 million people have reportedly fled the country and 1.8 million have been uprooted. Namibia's President Hage Geingob says his country will remain a member of the International Criminal Court, but only if the United States also joins. In March this year, Namibia said it would withdraw from the ICC, the world court which sits in the Netherlands, and has been criticized for targeting African nations. Geingob says that criticism seems to be true, that the U.S. is not currently a participant in the ICC. It has also not signed or ratified the Rome Statute, the treaty which serves as the ICC's governing document. Shortly after Donald Trump was elected president, analysts started scrutinizing the 20 projects he says he owns outside the United States. Many raised questions about a conflict of interest. To that, Donald Trump tweeted he would announce a plan to distance himself from his businesses. His organization sent a statement about that to VOA. In this look at the future president's business dealings, VOA's Caroline Presutti explains some of the issues those enterprises pose.
Most Americans agree there's never been a president-elect like Donald Trump.
Nobody knows what I own. You know, I have these guys. Maybe he's not worth $10 billion. I think he's only worth $7.
We do get a glimpse in these financial disclosure forms, all 104 pages of them. Presidential candidates are required to file these during campaigns, but a little-known gap in the law doesn't require the newly elected president to file an updated form until 2018. And without a tax return, which Donald Trump hasn't released, the information is general.
We just don't really have a good handle on what's out there.
Trump's interests extend from the Dominican Republic to India to Indonesia and beyond. Not a problem for a successful real estate mogul, but complicated for a president-elect. So says Ken Gross, who advises political clients on ethics.
In building these buildings, you may need permits or easements or permissions to build a bigger, better building. And now you're talking about an entanglement with the government.
Trump has pledged to keep clear of conflicts, but just how is unclear. Here's what the Trump Organization sent VOA. We are in the process of vetting various structures with the goal of the immediate transfer of management of the Trump Organization and its portfolio of businesses to Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric Trump, along with a team of highly skilled executives. This is a top priority at the organization, and the structure that is ultimately selected will comply with all applicable rules and regulations. Donald Trump tweeted that he and his children will reveal plans December 15th to get him completely out of his business operations. American University's James Thurber says that doesn't go far enough.
If I was the ethics czar, I would have a completely separated CEO and a board, a new board, without family members running the Trump properties and organizations throughout the world.
Trump's financial disclosures show an income from Azerbaijan of $2.8 million in the last 2 years. It's related to the Baku Hotel. It's this 33-floor skyscraper that has yet to open. Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka posted photos of her overseeing construction, but the hotel is owned by the son-in-law of Azerbaijan's transportation minister, in a country that Freedom House gives its lowest score for political rights, citing graft and corruption.
The leaders of Azerbaijan, by any measure, are fairly corrupt. And if you do business with corrupt nations and their leaders, sometimes you get involved with questionable things.
The Trump Organization also says it plans up to 30 hotels in China, while the organization's largest holding, in Manhattan, is partly financed by the government-owned Bank of China. Robert Daly leads the Kissinger Institute on China.
This is the one country that has the ability to take on the United States and overtake the United States as the predominant nation on earth.
Some analysts question whether it is Trump the businessman or President Trump who will negotiate trade with China. Scott Amy is with the Project on Government Oversight.
We have to ensure that any deals that are made, trade agreements, foreign policies, missions, anything that we decide to do internationally is above reproach.
How could I dislike China? They pay me a lot of money.
The U.S. Constitution mandates that no office holder can receive payments from a foreign government.
As such, the Emolument Clause clearly applies.
Maryland Senator Ben Cardin says Trump would violate that if he doesn't divest himself entirely of his holdings.
You'll never be able to totally convince the public that there wasn't special favors given to your business ventures.
It is the first time a businessman with such a vast real estate empire will call the White House home. While there may be challenges, some say President-elect Trump's business background will be good for the country.
Thank you very much.
Carolyn Presutti, VOA News, Washington.
And markets have opened flat following an online jobs report. Jill Malandrino is our business correspondent in New York, and she reviews November trade and what to expect in December.
Good afternoon from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. Stocks opened relatively flat to kick off the session on Friday. This follows the monthly jobs report that came in relatively in line. But let's review the November to Remember of 2016. The S&P 500 gained 3.4% for the second best monthly gain of the year and the best November since 2009. Financials were the top performing sector at 14%. Meanwhile, small caps had a huge month as well, as the Russell 2000 gained 11% for the best month since October 2011. As good as November was for equities, it was opposite for bonds. The major index was down 4% for the month. That's a record going back to 1990. Now that corporate earnings are essentially out of the way for the remainder of 2016, what's next for traders in the markets? Holiday retail sales will dominate company-specific coverage as the traditional start to the season kicked off on Thanksgiving with record-breaking numbers. The general tone of the consumer seems to be more positive with the election out of the way and the market responding favorably to President-elect Trump. And December historically is friendly to the markets anyway. The next potential event that could bring some volatility back is the interest rate decision that will be delivered by the Fed on December 14th. That's largely priced in at this point, however. Traditionally, December is what traders call a Santa Claus rally. LPL Financials has provided us with some really good data. Since 1950, No month sports a better average return than December with a return of 1.6%. It's also higher 76% of the time. Again, that's the best out of all 12 months of the year. So we'll be looking to see if U.S. traders get that Santa Claus rally following the stunning performance that we've had since the major election on November 7th. From the NASDAQ market site in Times Square, I'm Jill Malandrino, and this is Africa 54.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, Somalia's third postponement of the presidential elections raises concerns. Stay with us.
I wanted to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
Somalia's presidential elections, scheduled for November 30th, have been postponed yet again, while the parliamentary elections were marred by corruption, and the internationally backed process has been beset by a myriad of problems. I sat down with Professor Abdi Samatar from the University of Minnesota, and he says the so-called election is a mere selection process.
The elections in Somalia, or as I like to call it, the selection, because ordinary people and ordinary citizens are not going to the voting booth. It's so-called where a small number of people have been selected to select MPs. I think the reason why it's sort of taking so long to organize this is the level of competence, both in government and the international community who have been orchestrating some of this. Is just simply sub-zero in terms of competence. This process was started only very recent, a few months ago. So it will not be surprising, and it has not been surprising, that it will be postponed so many times. So that's one reason. Questions of competence are by those who are running the show, both internationally and locally in Somalia. The second is the absence of resources to run these elections. And the third is the security circumstances, Al-Shabaab and many others who are in it. So this required the kind of operation that's airtight, that should have been started so many years ago. It appears to me, therefore, that the UN and others, and the Somalis as well, are just simply running a show that's virtually incompetent.
There have been allegations of corruption and irregularities in the parliamentary elections that just took place. So how valid would be the results?
I think if we are honest with ourselves and our children and our destiny and legacy, it's quite clear that the magnitude of corruption is something no other African country have seen in its MPs elections. You are talking about the cost of one MP seat costing $500,000 US. So the kind of a person who becomes MP on the basis of that is going to minimally recoup that from the public purse, and maybe more. You just don't want to get even, you want to make a profit on this. So it's really unfortunate that the United Nations Security Council and the African Union have been reticent and reluctant to call a spade a spade.
The current president, Sheikh Hassan Mohamud, is running among several other candidates. What chance does he stand, given that there has been this magnitude of corruption and irregularities in the parliamentary election?
I have been in Mogadishu much of the summer this year, and I have not seen too many people, and I have traveled across the city, who were very happy with the progress that has been made in the last few years. And so they are looking for a new change, and they are hopeful that miraculously something different will come out. But the tragedy is that whoever comes through this process will be so deeply tainted that they will not have legitimacy with ordinary Somalis.
You were born in Somalia. You have followed Somalia's politics for years now. And you've written also extensively on Somalia's politics. What next for Somalia's already fragile democracy?
You know, this is one of the strange things that your viewers may find surprising. Somalia was the pace setter for Africa's democracy for a long time. I have just published a book called Africa's First Democrats, which shows that Somalis were the leaders of African democracy for the first 10 years of their life. And so there are experiences that are African, that are Somali in nature, that they can draw on to change course. And my hope is that when young men and women, Africans and Somalis read this, Somalis will see that they can do better than this.
Welcome back. France's southwestern city of Bordeaux is best known as a global wine capital, but the city has a grim history. It used to be France's second largest slave trading hub. Unlike in some other former slave trading hubs, there is no massive memorial to mark this bleak history. The city says it is too costly. But as fears of racism and xenophobia rise across Europe, one man is on a mission to shed more light on the past. For VOA, Lisa Brandt reports.
It's a favorite destination for cruise boats and wine connoisseurs, but Karfa Diallo is more interested in another side of Bordeaux as one of Europe's busiest slave trading hubs. From the 17th to the 19th century, this city dispatched hundreds of ships that transported 130,000 slaves from Africa to the Americas. They returned laden with cotton, tobacco, sugar, and rum. The city partly built its wealth on the slave trade.
Here
we are at Place de la Bourse. It was among the most beautiful squares in France. In the 18th century, Bordeaux was richer than the French kingdom.
Diallo from Senegal heads an association that raises awareness and offers tours of Bordeaux's slave trading past, a past he believes the city has not fully come to terms with.
The image of wine is very hard to reconcile with the image of slavery. That is why the town was very late in giving history the place it merited in public spaces and schools.
The few markers of this past are small and hard to find. And Diallo says there are more than a dozen Bordeaux streets named after prominent slave traders. Many residents have only a patchy knowledge of the city's role in the slave trade.
Yes, I know about it because we study it in history class, but I don't know a lot of things about it.
Bordeaux city government now agrees more should be done at a time when the anti-immigrant far right is surging in France. It set up a commission to study the question.
Il faut plus que jamais se battre pour défendre les droits fondamentaux et l'égalité.
We have to fight more than ever to defend fundamental rights and equality. But it's not about guilt or repentance. Bordeaux citizens are not responsible for what their ancestors did.
On n'a pas la responsabilité de ce qu'ont fait nos ancêtres.
Diallo believes education is the answer to confronting racism, past and present. The more we understand, he says, the less we hate. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Bordeaux, France.
It's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, our countdown of the continent's top music videos. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In the Gambia, President Yahya Jammeh has conceded defeat in the country's presidential election. That's according to the chairman of the Electoral Commission. In South Sudan, President Salva Kiir denies UN allegations of ethnic cleansing. In Ghana, voters have high hopes for a brighter economic future ahead of the December 7th general elections. Save the Children warns of famine risk in Nigeria. The UN estimates that some 75,000 children could die over the next year. Finally, revelers in the Central African Republic celebrate their National Day for the first time since civil war erupted in 2013. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. When you think about Finland, does high-tech come to mind? These busy startups are located at Helsinki's Sauna Incubator Space. The Aalto University campus hosts a startup accelerator program which aims to bring bright tech ideas to life. One of the more well-known companies is Rovio, which created the Angry Birds game. Rovio, which started as a student project, also released the Angry Birds movie earlier this year. It went to #1 at the box office in 52 different countries. There are around 30,000 developers and 500 tech startups in the Helsinki region. And in other tech news, robots that dance and serve coffee are taking center stage at Israel's Next Tech 2016. The Conference for Advanced Technologies is the first of its kind in Israel. It brings together leading corporations, startups, and research institutions. The startups' booths were dominated by the robotics department of the Ben Gurion University. One invention drawing attention is the Armadillo robot designed to serve coffee or go to the elevator. Also present was the Elbit Systems, who presented their new Signal intelligence system, which takes intelligence gathering to the next level. And finally, a portable tour guide of architecture. A smartphone app is bringing to life the world of the modernist architect Walter Gropius, one of the founders of the Bauhaus art school. App users can explore Gropius buildings in Berlin and learn about the simple functional style the Bauhaus group pioneered. The school merged architecture with design and art, but always stayed true to modernism. Bauhaus designs can be seen in most cities around the world today. The app, called Gropius to Go, is free to download on Android, iOS and Windows devices. And that's what's trending today. And my favorite segment on Friday, it's time for Music Makers Friday. And today we have Africa 54 Top Africa Music Videos. Now here's the countdown with your host, Sanusi Diallo.
Welcome to VOA's African Hit. I'm Diallo Sanusi Gallis Jr., your host from Washington, D.C. Today we're going to present you the top 5 music video from Africa. But of course, we're also going to try to do something different today a little bit, mix it up a little bit. As you can see, we're in a music set right here, ready to jam. Hey, do you know the lowest point in Africa is located in central eastern Djibouti? Now introducing our number 5 music video of the day. Here's a singer and a businesswoman, Akoti featuring Flavor in Give It To Me. Now introducing our number 4 music video of the day. Here's a Jody Clark featuring Serge Beno in Beaucoup d'Argent.
Making plenty money, baby. I'm making plenty money, baby. Yeah. Baby, finally. Mama, finally. Baby, finally. Baby, finally. I'm making plenty money, baby. I'm making plenty money, baby. Yeah. Baby, finally. Baby, finally. Baby, finally.
Now introducing our number 3 music video of the day. Here's a hip-hop artist from Ghana, Adam in Porta Wo.
Something that I can never do. It would be on the drum, but I will.
Now, this fact right here will get you thinking. Do you know that Facebook has over 100 million active users in Africa? In Africa? And we complain about electricity, we complain about technology? No, that's not true. But it really means that Africa is prospering. Africa is developing. There's more electricity. There's more technology coming in Africa. Positive vibe to see Africa also mingling in the social media group, or world, in matter of fact. Introducing our number 2 music video of the day, promoting his new album, New Era. Here's a superstar, pop superstar, Kiss Daniel with Upon Me.
Put your love upon me, upon me, upon me. 'Cause I'm supposed to marry someone like me, like me, like me. Baby, don't they tell me, don't they whine me. You better say yes, you better say yes, oh. You better say yes, oh. You are killing all the guys, baby. Foot to my eyes, baby. Perfect science when you're working. Forget to lose, see I'm shy, oh, baby. See ya, 5 figure, mom still over jaw. I salute to your mama. Right over you like piranha. See ya, 5 figure. Oof.
Now closing up with the number 1 music video, Uno Premier of the day. Here's High Life superstar Bisa Kade featuring Pato Ranking in Life.
Papa, mommy, don't worry, drinking, forget the baby, and live what to God do. When enough will be short though. Make you know they think too much, enjoy your time, oh. Your life with the matter fire. Everything get time. Wait for God's time. It is the best time. All the thanks for first time.
And that's all for today. We want to thank you for watching VOA's African Hit. Make sure you check our social media pages at VOA African Hit. The African Musical Countdown, it's on VOA African Hit. Once again, we'll see you next week.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune into VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching, and a very good night from Washington.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A lot of idioms in American English come from sports. Here's one that comes from baseball.
Keep your eye on the ball.
Let's learn how to use this expression when not talking about sports.
Hey, Jonathan, how is your Arabic class going?
It's going okay. I'm not studying as much as I should be.
Jonathan, you had better keep your eye on the ball if you want to win that scholarship to study in Egypt. Study harder.
I know. You're right.
To keep your eye on the ball means to keep your attention on something important to you, usually to reach a goal. This idiom can be used in all situations. In our example, Anna tells Jonathan he needs to keep his eye on the ball if he wants to get a scholarship. And that's English in a Minute.